Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cube Simplify. My name is Sam Padak, and I am a CNCF ambassador. In this video, we'll be talking about Rancher 2.7. So, a few weeks ago, not a few weeks ago, actually, a few days ago, Rancher 2.7 was released. And I have been kind of using Rancher for quite a few years now, like before 1.0 as well. So, it would be interesting to get a refreshed overview of Rancher and look at some of the new features. Before we start, this video is brought to you by Armo, Commodore, Avacia, Sysdig, Instruct, and Namespace Labs, and Slim AI. So a huge shout out to all the people who are supporting my work, and their links are in the description. So please check them out so that they also get something out of the video. Okay, let's get started right away with Rancher. Okay, so if you don't know, like Rancher is a single platform to manage your Kubernetes across like anywhere, across data centers, across multiple clouds. You can create the cluster in multiple clouds. You can create the clusters using one of their managed offering or on their instances, or you can import the clusters as well from wherever they are to get an overview, single view dashboard, and use some of the functionalities over there as well, like RBAC and so on. So it's very huge. Like you can do a lot of things with Rancher, and you can manage thousands and thousands of cluster using Rancher. What we'll do is let's start by kind of installing that onto one of our Kubernetes clusters and see how the UI looks like, and then we'll slowly navigate through the UI. So we already have a Kubernetes cluster which is in place. So let's first apply the cert manager. Let's do that. You can see kubectl get pods -a. You can see right now traffic is there. You have metric server, you have CSIs, whatever is there. Nothing Rancher specific which is there. So first we are going to apply the cert manager. Cool. So cert manager is installed. You can see the CA injector, the pod, the webhook, all the pods are up and running. The deployments are up and running. The next step would be to add the Helm repo. Let's do that. Now let's create the namespace cattle system. And let's install Rancher. So the command to install Rancher is helm upgrade install Rancher. We'll install the latest one, which will be 2.7. In the namespace cattle system, we are setting the host name where we are providing the DNS. Then we are giving just a bootstrap password. You can give it on your own. For the ingress, we have given the TLS to be source, and let's encrypt because we want to use the TLS. Let's encrypt. And for that, we have given the email as well and the ingress class. So if you are doing it on any other cluster, make sure you have an ingress controller installed on your Kubernetes cluster. So it works fine. So it is installing Rancher now. We'll wait for some time till it gets installed. Cool. It's already installed. You can see happy containering. And you can get the bootstrap passwords and all that stuff from here. But this is our main URL that it is getting installed. You can see the pods are coming up slowly and slowly. So let's give it a couple of minutes to get it completely ready. Yep, so everything looks up and running. Now let's go to the link that we provided. And we will be able to see the Rancher dashboard. So we actually know the password, which is demo123456. Continue. So when you install Rancher on a particular Kubernetes cluster, that cluster is already imported. That cluster already comes as an imported cluster. So the cluster in which we have actually installed Rancher, it has already imported that particular cluster. This is the main UI of Rancher, where you will see list of all the clusters, and obviously you will be able to filter them as well. So let's go to what's new in 2.7. So there are three major improvements or three major areas that they have highlighted in Rancher 2.7.0. One is K3s provisioning is GA. That means provisioning of K3s cluster has graduated to GA. So fully compliant Kubernetes distribution is simplified, secure, and is less than 60 MB, perfect for edge. Rancher extensions, cool. This is something interesting. Rancher extensions provide a mechanism to extend the functionality of Rancher Manager UI. Rancher will use this to provide a new functionality that can be installed by the administrators. Extensions are provided as Helm charts. A new top level extension UI allows administrators to enable extension support and install and manage extensions themselves. This would be interesting. OCI support for Helm for Fleet. So Fleet is basically for GitOps. If you are not sure what Fleet is, there are a couple of videos on my YouTube channel that explains what exactly Fleet is. So it says like for this release, they have the OCI support for Helm for Fleet. Authentication for OCI based registries is now supported. Structure of Fleet.yaml remains the same, and the credentials are provided as Kubernetes secrets. That is cool. So that is the main highlights. Those are main highlights. So what we'll do is we'll try to enable this. Um, we will try to install K3s onto some of the nodes. Yeah, let's do these. So first, a quick tour. So if you want to create a new cluster, you click on create and it opens a new window. You can actually create like Amazon EKS, Azure AKS, Google GKE. Then you can also create the clusters onto different set of nodes which are there. Like you want RK1 or RK2 installed onto these particular nodes, or you can use an existing node to create the clusters as well, which are not any of these cloud providers. So we'll be using the custom ones, and these are the cloud credentials. So you can actually add and create different cloud providers credentials here. Drivers, so these are the node drivers that you will be able to add. So you can see you can enable some of the other drivers like Baidu, Huawei, Oracle, Linode, all these ones. This hamburger menu, this one, these are the global options. Like these are the main, I would say, sections which are there. Like one is home, explore clusters. Then you have global apps like continuous delivery is for fleet, virtualization management is for harvester, cluster management is there. Then you have user and authentication, and this is something new which they have mentioned as extensions. So let's go to home. Let's do some of the stuff step by step. Before we do anything else, I actually want to go to Rancher GitHub and check the so it was released 6 days ago. Let's see some of the features here. So new in Rancher, so you already seen extensions which is there. We can actually see the docs. Let's put that window as well open. uh, New in Rancher support has ended for 1.20, 1.21 and 1.22. The manage cluster members and manage project members role have been updated to better align the common expectation. New in Rancher UI's cluster events are now displayed more prominently. And new in Fleet is authentication for OCI based registries are now supported. Structure remains the same. Credentials are provided as secrets, which we have seen and described in the private and repo. Repo structure is like this. So you should be having a chart.yaml customization fleet, and fleet.yaml should be something like this. Going back to the dashboard, if we click on local, which is the imported cluster, we'll be able to see some level of metrics and whatever is there, like how many pods, cores, the deployments, the nodes, and we can see the events. Yeah, the events does look good now. So all the cluster events are there, and you can navigate through them. We can also see the namespaces which are there, the nodes one by one. If we go to a particular node, you'll be able to see the IP version, container runtime, the labels, the pressures, whatever is there, the pods on this particular node, the info of this node, image used, and the taints present, conditions, related resources. So all these things are there, and actually we can see the detail view here. Cluster members. So you can add actually the cluster members for this particular cluster, but yeah, as mentioned, like only the admin should be added over there. So you can give custom permissions, owner permissions to create projects, manage projects. So there is multiple level of RBAC. I think RBAC is very powerful feature that Rancher provides out of the box. That you can create different set of roles for a different user to provide only a very limited set of access. And I'll show you how that works. Then you have storage. We don't have any storage yet. We have a storage class. More resources about fleet, rancher, RBAC, which is there. Like you have all these RBAC associated. Cool. So on the workload wise, you'll be able to see deployments, daemons, et extra, etc. You can see all the namespaces which are there. So it only shows you from user namespaces. You can see from system namespaces. You'll be able to see some of the workloads which are there, and you can click any of the workloads, see the services, ingress, conditions, related events, and stuff like that. And if you go to any of the pods, you'll be able to see additional set of information and execute shell, view logs, all these other information. Yeah, you can execute a shell directly within the rancher. You'll be able to see, interact with kubectl. So basically you don't need to download kubectl, kubeconfig, and stuff like that. You can directly do that from the rancher dashboard itself, like kubectl get nodes. I'm able to do that from here itself. Moving on, let's click home, let's click create, because we wanted to create something. Yeah, you can create any of the existing clusters. Like, if you go to GKE creation, you can fill out all these credentials and you'll be able to create that. But let's go back. We want to create on custom nodes the K3s. So let's give our custom K3s. Let's install K3s, not the RK one. I want the K3s one. So we'll install this. And system services, everything is there. That is fine. Member roles, we can give additional member roles. Environment variables, etcd, enable backup snapshots to S3. You can enable that if you have the S3. Labels and annotations, networking, if you want to give custom CIDR ranges, if you want to give registries, update strategies, and any of the additional arguments if you want to add. I think we'll keep all the stuff to default, and let's click create. So the step one would be choose what role the nodes have in the cluster. The cluster needs to have at least one node with each role. So let's copy this and run it on one of our nodes. So I already have a node here. So you can see it has requested for etcd control plane and worker node. And we'll not make the next one as worker. Actually, we should not make the three control plane as the worker ones. Copy. This is for the second. And this is for the third. For the fourth one, we only will say worker. Cool. So I had four different nodes, and on three of them, actually on one I had all three, but ideally on three of them we want etcd control plane, and the rest of them to be joined as worker. So if we go to the machines again, we can see that it is being provisioned. and things are happening. It is waiting for the nodes to reconcile. So we'll give it some time and let all the things happen and let it connect back to this Rancher dashboard so that everything works fine. Okay, so we can see that our cluster is up and running with K3s. So if we go back to the clusters, we can see our custom K3s cluster is actually active, and we can explore that. So that will give us, the cluster dashboard view, and you can see the little K3s icon over here. So it gives us the same view. And on this particular cluster, what we are going to do is we are going to install additional monitoring, because that what makes it more powerful. I'll show you how. So let's install monitoring, and let's install this monitoring over here. We can actually install the CIS benchmark as well, OPA gatekeeper, new vector, all these fancy stuff. But we want this to be installed. You can customize the Helm options if you want to. Since I don't want, I'll just go with the defaults. Cluster type is K3s, so it will automatically customize my metrics as per K3s for Grafana dashboards and all these things. Let's click install, and it'll take a little bit of time to get things installed. But we can go in the kubectl shell and try to connect to the cluster and see what is actually happening. So you can see already the Helm upgrade install of monitoring is happening. They are doing that. And if we go here, kubectl get pods -a, we'll be able to see stuff is getting deployed over here. So you can see the monitoring getting deployed over here. So let's give it a couple of minutes to get this ready. So you can see the success over here. Now let's go back to the cluster to actually show you the real power of what I just did over here. Let me close all these. Let's try to explore some metrics now. So let's go to one of the nodes. Let's say we go to this particular node. Now we have enabled the metrics. Now let's see its power, right? So we can actually go to the metrics tab. Now this gives us some view like CPU utilization, um, the load average, memory utilization, network traffic, disk IO, disk utilization, and all those fancy things. But can you see there is a little icon over there that says Grafana? Now let's click on that. This is where things get interesting. It opens a Grafana view and it gives you a detailed view of all the charts which are there. But I can go back to the dashboards, and we can see a very fancy dashboards of all the pre-built stuff which is there from Rancher. So we can see all these dashboards like Rancher node, Rancher cluster, Rancher workloads. So let's click on the workloads one. So we'll be able to see, in all the namespaces, like let's go to cube system namespace, and you'll be able to see kind, replica set, what is the metrics over here. Let's go back and maybe go to the API server metrics. So you can see this is the fancy dashboard for API server metrics, which is there, SLIs, SLI errors, memory, CPU over here, work queue, latency. Let's see some of the other dashboards. Node exporter. There is a very good graph of this node exporter as well. Now let's go to kubelet. So you can see 4 kubelets and desired volume count and all these fancy metrics. Operation error rate, there is no errors, very good. 99th quantile metric, C group manager operation rate. I mean, you can just imagine the out of the box dashboards that you are getting, and you can see the number of dashboards that you are getting, like proxy for scheduler, for stateful sets, for nodes, everything you are getting out of the box. And these are like really really good metrics, healthy metrics that you definitely need, and you can set the alerting on top of that. So I think that's pretty powerful and pretty neat work that Rancher has done. Even for the cluster that we created on custom nodes, we are not managing entirely these clusters from Rancher. Like obviously if you create the clusters directly from the provider integration, that will have additional set of benefits. But even if you do it from the custom nodes, it is providing you a lot and lot of features out of the box. So all these metrics are very powerful. What we can do is let's try to run something. Maybe Nginx deployment. So kubectl run or create. It's created. Now let's go to workloads, deployments, and only user spaces. We can see the Nginx is there. So let's click here. It's already active. Let's click its metrics, and we can go to its Grafana view as well. So we can go to the individual workload Grafana dashboards as well. So that was about the monitoring enablement and creation of the cluster of provide with the provider K3s on custom nodes, which went GA in Rancher 2.7. I think that's very powerful. And also on the nodes, you can actually cordon them, drain them, edit the config. And also in the explore clusters, now you will be able to see that this is a local cluster, which is where the rancher lives. This is the custom K3s. So we have a sweet logo over there. Now what we'll do is we can actually enable continuous delivery. you know we can have some git repos and enable the GitOps workflow over here. So let's get started over here. We can see we have clusters. So we have the custom K3s clusters, which is there in the fleet default namespace. So what we'll do is let's get started. Add a git repo, maybe demo. Repository link can be Argo, one of my old demos, Argo demo that I always kind of try to show because that's a good repository. It's prepared. So repository URL, main branch, and authentication, add a path slash deploy that we want to deploy on this. Next, all cluster in this workspace, just deploy to custom K3s cluster in the demo namespace. That's it. That's what we want. And it should start the deployment and it should be ready in some time. We can actually check from the cluster, custom K3s. Let's go here. I can see some of the resources already increased. So kubectl get ns. We can see 10 seconds ago demo was created, which is good. Kubectl get all hyphen and demo. We can see a hello service pods and all these things got created, which is very good. So we can actually do a curl of this, and we should be able to see the contents, like what is the best managed Kubernetes service provider. That was the HTML that I used. That's fine. So our resources is deployed. If we go to the main menu and to the continuous delivery section, we should be able to see everything as green tick. So I think that's pretty fancy. This is called the fleet stuff. More details are there on my YouTube channel, some of the videos which is there, but I showed you the example. So what we have covered is we have installed Rancher that got imported. We installed monitoring on top of that. We saw all the views which are there. We actually created a K3s cluster on the custom nodes, HA K3s cluster on the custom nodes, and we are doing some fancy stuff. Enabled GitOps workflow over there as well. The next thing is user and authentication. So we can actually use users authentication roles and all these things. There are different authentication providers as well. So if you see, there is Google authentication, Keycloak, Okta, GitHub, like everything is there. But what we can do here is let's create a role, create a cluster role. So I want to create a cluster role and I want to name it as CM. I want to inherit from read only. I think that's fair. Let's create, and we'll create the user. Uh, Sayam is the user base role who only has the login access. So that comes under the global permissions. So let's create it. Password is 12 characters. So test 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So we have created a new user. Okay, we can create a global role. Again, a global role can only list the clusters. That's it. And if I go to this user again, let me edit that. So we have given them the custom role, which is not created by Rancher. Save, refresh. Now let's open this in incognito mode and give the username and password test 1234567 8. Log in with the local user. So I'm not able to see any other clusters, and I'll go back to custom K3s cluster, and let's create a project where I'll say this is Sayam project, and I'll add a member which we created, a local user. And for this project permissions, we'll give them the owner. We'll add them and we'll create. But right now this project has nothing. So what we are going to do is we are going to move demo to Sayam project and move. So what I have done is I have moved the demo namespace, the complete demo namespace to project Sayam, and given the project Sayam the role that we just created. So now let's refresh. So you can see now suddenly I am able to see custom K3s cluster. But if I click this cluster, I won't be able to see anything else apart from the resources from the demo namespace. So I won't be able to see actually system namespaces. It won't show anything. You can see how powerful is it, right? I can only give you the access that you are required. So, and for this namespace I'll be able to see anything like, what are the workloads which are running, like hello service. I'll also be able to see the logs for that. So all this is working perfectly fine, but I won't be able to see anything else for this particular cluster, and won't be able to edit anything else for this particular cluster. Even if I do a kubectl shell for this, and I do kubectl get ns, I won't be able to see that. Kubectl get ns demo, I'll be able to see that. So it automatically created everything that was needed for this particular user to use the Kubernetes cluster in a way that we only want these many things to be edited, used by this particular user. So that's a superpower that you get with Rancher. And I really like this particular feature, to be honest. Okay, so we have covered fleet, we have covered monitoring, we have covered RBAC, we have covered the overview, we have covered all the other fancy things. One last things which I think they have mentioned is called, and not here, but the extensions. So this is pretty new feature. Let's also look at what Rancher extensions are. So this is what you must log in, click on extensions under configuration. So we enable them, add extension repository, we add it. Extension support is not enabled. You need to install the extensions operator. Let's see from where we can install the extensions operator. I don't see that actually. So right now there is nothing installed, which is just fine. So we go to manage repositories, create. So we go to manage repositories. I see some of them already here, but I don't know why they're not appearing over there. Very weird. Maybe it's pretty new feature. Rancher extensions, I see it's already here. Let's create maybe demo. What is this? Git URL, Cube Warden Helm. These are the Helm charts for Cube Warden. Let's go here. It's the main branch. Main and create. In progress and active. It says it is active. Now, if we go back to the extensions, we don't see anything available. That is interesting. So we have seen user authentication extensions. I don't know, for some reason it's not working. These are some of the global settings where you can manage, and clusters and virtual management. I told you it's the harvester, that thing is there. So yeah, that's pretty much what Rancher is. Somehow the manage extensions is not working for us. We'll try to figure it out and ask in the community why it is not appearing when the repository shows that it is active and it is working fine. So yeah, that's pretty much it that I have to say with respect to Rancher. I think that's pretty cool. Even the I mean, they have released Tool 7 after a long time. Many bug fixes and all those things, and few of the things went to GA. This extension thing is new, but somehow it's not working. Maybe we need to figure out what went wrong, or maybe some of the docs are missing. But yeah, I hope you got the overall gist first. What Rancher is, how you can import clusters, how you can create clusters, how you can create clusters on custom nodes, how you can create RKE and K3s cluster. We didn't do the RKE portion, but we actually did the K3s one. So how you can do that and create the clusters, enable monitoring, and bunch of other applications which were present, like the new vector and all those things. User and authentication, it provides some by default out of the box, which are very powerful, and you can give the right exact access that you need to a particular user when they log into the Rancher dashboard. Also, you can integrate the some of the Okta, GitHub, Google, all those integrations to have the login access and the roles. So yeah, I have never done a very deep dive video. I think I did long back on Rancher, so it was due pending to do a Rancher deep dive video. So I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know how, if you use Rancher. It would be cool to know in the comments. And if you like the video, share it with your friends, and hit that like button, subscribe, and press the bell icon. A lot of amazing content to be posted every week. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you be the part of Cube Simplify, the next revolution in simplifying cloud native for everyone. Thank you all.